السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم. أما بعد. So inshallah ta'ala, we start our first lesson on this text on Fiqh called Nur Ul Idaah, Nur Ul Idaah, and we clarify what it means and what are we going to do. So what is Fiqh? Fiqh itself, what does it mean? Literally mean to understand something, to grasp the intent, the idea behind something, using a term, and you could just grasp straight away. It doesn't have to be term. Any concept, any idea, anything, you understand what it means. And in Islamic terminology, not in that was a linguistic meaning. This is terminological, like Islamically. The knowledge of some practical rules of Sharia which are derived from the detailed evidences, that being main sources. And what are those sources? There are two primary sources, and these are the main sources. But there are two secondary sources as well. Okay, so those two main sources are Quran and Sunnah. Everyone knows Quran and Sunnah. Now, sometimes you would say Hadith. It's better to use Sunnah as a term as opposed to Hadith, because Hadith is a little bit more nuanced, and there's some more detail about it. Hadith is saying, doing, and approvals of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam approved by saying. Sunnah, on the other hand, is the action derived from the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that is much more vast. And words are included in there, actions are included in there, but also certain practices which has been there for 1400 years, except that they might not be written somewhere specific. Where hadith are the words written, actions noted down by someone, and approvals written down by someone, so in the form of a text. Whereas Sunnah is actually written plus the practice, which we can see going all the way for 1400 years. So it's much more broader. Sunnah is broader and Hadith is incorporated. I mean, that's one way of looking at that, just to simplify it. So Quran and Sunnah. So Quran is the actual text that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given to mankind through Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's job was to explain this, to make sure that people understand what it means. The text has to be taught by the teacher to implement, practically live that text. That is why Sayyidah Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha said, Kana khuluquhu al-Quran. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's all moral, all conduct was this Quran. If someone came, how was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? His behavior, his attitude, his living in the house, dealing with you lot. Subsequently, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam passed away, he said, have you not read Quran? This is the answer from the wife. Have you not read Quran? He said, yes. It was Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam walking Quran. He was just the embodiment of Quran, living example of Quran. Every injunction there, he would just follow it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself was the explanation through his words, through his action, through his approvals, clarifying what Quran says, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends from the subject, from us. So in that sense, primary source is just Quran. Sunnah is the elaboration or demonstration of that. But to simplify, Quran and Sunnah. And what are the secondary sources? Anyone? Ijma' and Qiyas. Ijma' and Qiyas. Ijma' and Qiyas. Those are the terms that you should just ingrain in our mind. Ijma' and Qiyas. Ijma' easy. Consensus. And Qiyas is analogy. You might not find everything written, every point written in Quran or in Hadith even. Certain new thing. How would you come up with the ruling? Allah says some things haram, for example. How would you know the new thing, like for example, cocaine? How do we say cocaine or marijuana is haram? Why is that haram? Is there any hadith about that? Is there any sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No. Is there something in the Quran to say that? No. Crack or, is that haram? You all agree that that's haram, yes? I don't believe otherwise. A little bit suspicious of not nodding head. That is haram, but there's no report about this. This is by analysis, by analogy. Qiyas. Looked at Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam statement or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning in Quran. What is that? Al-Qubul, Khamr, wine. And that is haram based on Quran and Sunnah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam expressed it clearly in many, many narrations. So we know that that is haram. But we don't know about cocaine, about heroin. But then we applied this ruling. What was the reason that this alcohol is haram? Allah mentioned in Quran. Don't come to the prayer, O you who believe, while you are inebriated, drunk, and you won't know what you're saying, the clouding of the mind, intoxication. So ulama extracted that reason. It's called illah. The reason for something being haram is the clouding of consciousness, intoxication. So then say, is there intoxication in this thing? Oh yes. The cocaine does the same thing? Yes. Heroin does the same thing? Yes. Weed? Yes. Whatever does the same thing, obviously it's juristic work to identify where the trouble is and apply that to the new thing. That becomes right. Understand? So you do not have everything written in Quran and Sunnah, but the principles are there. So you have to derive it, but obviously there has to be people doing it for us, the master, the experts. And this is what they have done. It's called analogy, applying the same rule to the new situation. So, and that is the very reason why fiqh is needed. And Allah subhanahu, because while Allah says, so sometimes the question may arise, while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Inna nahnu nazzalna dhikra wa inna lahu lahafidun. Indeed, we have sent down this Quran, this deen to you in the form of Quran. We have got everything, and we are going to preserve it. So this is all going to be preserved. Is it just the words which Hafiz Quran would preserve without any trouble? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam left with him 124,000 Sahaba, roughly, thereabout, out of which 10,000 learned from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cover to cover directly. Others, they had some, and so they carried on and then completed it. So majority of Sahaba knew a lot of Quran anyway. That's all gone down to Ummah even now. We have got millions of Hafiz today. Yes? So if Quran is preserved like that, why do we need fiqh then? Can we not just open it up and understand it? Google the translation? AI could do a better job than some of us. And likewise, Quran and Sunnah, shouldn't they be enough? Why do we need a secondary sources? I already explained one reason. That's another reason. The reason is we want to know what Allah would have wanted from with this injunction. There's prohibition, but are they all same? For example, me saying to you, sit down, and me saying to you, sit down, like this, with my action and with my body language, are the same? Obviously not. Although the command and the words are exactly the same, but it's different. My general request to you, sit down. And if you didn't, I'm okay with that. My command to you, sit down, and you're not doing, sit down. Is the same? Obviously not. Words are same, but meaning is definitely different. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanding, for example, when you, hadith say this, when you sleep, before you go to bed, turn off your candle. Turn off the candles you have. That's it. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't wear gold. Men of this ummah, don't wear gold. This is, and he actually took the silk and gold in his hand. He said, this is only permissible for my sisters, my women of the ummah, not for men. Men, you shouldn't be wearing these two things. Now, him saying this and him saying, turn that candle off. Are they the same? If you haven't turned your light off or the candle off, would you be sinful? Is it haram to leave the candle on? Would you be sinful for that? What do you think? No. Imagine. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, cover your water bucket, whatever water you have, the container, cover it with the lid before you go to bed, or keep it covered generally. Is it same sin than that sin of wearing gold and silver, gold and silk? Same? No, sir, not at all. So how would you know? Both are commanded. Both are mentioned in hadith as a statement. There has to be some juristic understanding, a mind to think about it. Someone has to go down and say, there is reason that, oh, this is the intent of Sharia. Or Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, oh Mu'adh, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, when he's bidding him farewell, Wallahi, I love you. By Allah, Wallahi inni la uhibbuk, I love you. And then he says, La tada'unna, you do not leave these two words after each prayer. Dubara salat al-maktubat, Dubara al-maktubat, faraid, first prayer. Don't leave these words after the first prayer. What are these? Allahumma a'inni ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying, don't leave these words after each prayer. Is it fun? Is it fun for him? For us? Is it sunnah for us? How do you know it's sunnah and not for? Same command. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding something. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commanding something, prohibiting something. How would you understand that? And many a time, so that's one. Many a time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say one thing to one individual, something else to someone else. How would you know which one to take? For example, a man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in a gathering, asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can I kiss my wife while I'm fasting in Ramadan during the day? He said, no. Sometime later in the same month, someone else came, asked the same question. He said, yes. Is it yes or is it no? Surely he didn't make a mistake there. Because Quran says, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. He never makes mistake. Whatever he says is from the revelation. He can make a slip here and there, which Allah wants him to do, and then correct it subsequently in order for a point to be made. But that's a separate issue. So what is the answer to that? You have to have a juristic mind to identify. Bilal radhiyallahu ta'ala, once he gave adhan, as he finished the adhan, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked another companion, pointed him to say iqama. Means he did the iqama, he did adhan. On another occasion, another companion, Itban, he did the adhan, and Bilal was sitting there. So Bilal, being the normal muazzin, he started calling out iqama. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Bilal, don't do that. Those people or the person who did adhan has the right to do the iqama. So what is right? What should be done? You understand? So apparently there is a discrepancy, isn't it? It's only apparent. We won't understand that. But there can't be a discrepancy. Can there be a discrepancy between Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? No, obviously not. Can there be discrepancy in Quran? Two ayats saying one thing here, and you would see that in Quran. This ayah says this, and that ayah says this. For example, in Surah Baqarah, two just next to each other, within 10, 15 lines of each other. When someone passed away, oh, the wife, the widow, wait for whole year. A page before, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, few ayat before, wait for 4 months and 10 days. Which one? How would you know? No answer. No, I'm not interested in answer. It's not about answer or question. It's about the concept. How do you know that? Even if you know the answer, and some of you obviously have learned and studied that. But that's not the idea. The idea is, how did you come up about that? Did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clarify? Sometimes he did, sometimes he didn't. And you would find, oh, which one? So the jurist, fuqaha, from Sahaba, from afterwards, all the way up to now, they would clarify the situation for us. And that's the job of fiqh. Fiqh's job is to clarify what are the ruling, why that is, and what is the status and the degree of the ruling. As haram, makruh, is like just okay, mubah, desirable, preferred, Sunnah, even more preferable, highly recommended, must, obligatory. If you do it, kufr, iman. How do you know all those different terminologies? Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't make it as a principle. He gave us all those rulings in similar way. Yet, the name were not given, the terminologies were not used. Then, subsequently, fuqaha compiled it all, codified it, and that becomes a ruling for us. But that's the job of a faqih, to clarify. It's like in medicine, so many people do the research. And there are many articles there, many publications. The jurist of medicine, the top people, they sit and they work out, looking at all that, and, and then come up with the guideline. So you read nice guideline on a subject that you read, and they would give you all the evidences for that. At the end, there is long list of references. Based on this, we suggest you. Many things happen like that, and you keep evolving, keep getting better with time and what. Same here. And obviously, these fuqaha, the faqih is the person who looks at fiqh, who gets the understanding and clarifies that. He would just come up with something, someone else would thresh it out, answer it better, clarify it better. Oh, you did it wrong. There was this issue and that issue. Keep going and keep evolving. This is why our deen is much more fluid, carries on improving with time, carries on getting better and better and better. So that is the need for fiqh. Likewise, as I said, new situation, some individual with new disease. For example, dementia. What do we do about that? Is that something that will allow you to be absolved from the prayer? What degree of dementia that you would say that this person is now absolved from prayer? Asperger's. Is Asperger's as bad as Down syndrome with regards to being the mukallaf? Mukallaf is the individual who is responsible for the Sharia. A small boy, obviously, small girl easily, but how about Majnoon? Is that mad? The person who has not, Sharia say mad men or women are absolved from responsibilities. So is a degree of dementia madness? Some forgetfulness is madness? How would you know? There has to be some work done on it, isn't it? When is it allowed to not take medicine? Even when it means that you may die. If I don't take this tablet, I'll be dead. Can I refuse that medicine? Or do I have to have? Can I refuse someone who keeps choking on food and they're in bed like this with their terminal states or whatever condition? Can we stop them? Can we starve them to death? Stop drinking and eating. Don't give anything. And this man is lying there. Stop every feed and every drink. Can we starve them to death? Because if you give him food, it's going to go wrong way in the lungs. You can't control it. Or shall we just let him die with choking on food, and maybe a week later his lungs are full of food, and he'll be dead, obviously, with even one choking might be enough for him. So can we or can we not allow? That's not easy, is it? Can we say that do not resuscitate? Transplantation, are we allowed or not allowed? All of those are the issues which only fuqaha can come up with. It's not easy making those decisions. Can you make it based on Quran and Hadith? Read on your own? Impossible. Okay, so that is why. Similarly, the example would be that of a doctor and a pharmacist. A pharmacist would collect all the evidences about the medicine and put them all together, all the ingredients, everything. But can they prescribe medicine? Why can't they prescribe the medicine? They know more. Like muhaddis, the hadith master knows a lot more. A hafiz knows more Quran than the faqih, if faqih is not hafiz, or if faqih is not muhaddis. He might not know as many ayat because he's not hafiz. Mufti Taqi Usmani sahab, he's a faqih of the time, but he's not hafiz. So perhaps some of you hafiz can claim that you know more Quran. Yeah, and you're right. But can you make the ruling and give fatwa? Obviously not. He can. Some of you may be top level muhaddis and may know more than him. But are you allowed to give fatwa? No, because you are like a pharmacy, you've collected all of that, but you cannot prescribe. It has to be. Likewise, another example of a cobbler, shoe seller. You've got this shop, you can sell the shoes. I come to you, I say, I want size 7 shoes. Okay, 8, fine, 8.5, maybe. I said 8 3/4. What would you do? I haven't got any. That's a new situation. 1 8 and 1 8.5. I got this discrepancy in my feet. What would you do? Then you go, hang on. Let me go to cobbler. Ask him to design something for you specifically. So that's the mujtahid. Mujtahid would design according to your need, according to the need of the individual. That's faqih's job. The faqih was clarify that for you. So that is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a glad tidings for them. Man yuridillahu bihi khayran yufaqihu fid din. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends good for, give him the fiqh of deen. He becomes the faqih. And that is why another narration, a faqih is, hadith has got some weakness, but very absolute meaning, everyone agreed on that. A faqih is way better, more than 100 times better than the abid, the worshipper, the devout worshipper, because he would just worship, he wouldn't know whether he's done it properly or not. The faqih would know all the details of that. A faqih is someone the shaitan is always going to stay away from, because he knows the ruling and he could just apply it in the right time at the right situation. Anyway, so how did fiqh then evolve? It evolved. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the first jurist. He would give the ruling according to the situation, as he did in this story that I just mentioned. He didn't allow the first man, and he allowed the second one to be intimate with the wife with regards to just kissing on the body or on the, some kissing, some hugging, some little bit cuddling, even in the state of fasting. Why? Because he knew that this is an elderly man, more uncontrolled. His situation is such that he would only hug his wife, few kisses, and he'd be okay rest of the time. Asking this young man who just married a few days ago, a week ago, 10 days ago, you allow him in Ramadan to kiss your wife, he's not going to stop there. That kiss would lead him to have intercourse. And that is why many people do it. So he didn't allow the young man, no, not for you. Elderly, yes, okay. So that's the wisdom, taking everything according to the situation. That's the job of the faqih. So Rasulullah ﷺ was the first faqih. And then after that, during the time of Rasulullah, about right at the end of his time, about 30 were allowed to give fatwa. In the early days, 10, 12 maximum. No one else was allowed to give fatwa. They all knew Quran. Well, most of them did know Quran. Many knew Quran. And they heard hadith directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Yet they could not make any ruling. They could not give fatwa. They were not allowed. They still have to go. And Arabic was their language, by the way. Like, they knew it. They understood it very, very well. So if it was enough to know the translation, Googling here and there, they were the best people to do it. No, not at all. Okay, so then after that, the Khulafa al-Rashidin, they consolidated those rulings, started writing it down. But they never come up with a terminology. They just used it and applied it in the situation, as per the situation, keep going. And then Islamic empire, when it started expanding, and then we got new people coming up with new situation, new scenarios, new level of understanding, not knowing Arabic now, scenario changes. So they come up with new, the Sahabas, students, they started contributing to it and compiling it in different ways, teaching. So every Sahabi was teaching according to his understanding, his fiqh, in his small masjid, small area, some in Kufa, some in Misr, some in Egypt, and some in Medina, some in Mecca, Basra, Sham. So what happened then? Their students continued to follow their ruling, and it became like a small school. There were all of those places had with the Sahabi at the top, a school. This is Abdullah ibn Umar's school. This is Abdullah ibn Abbas's school. This is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud's school. This is Umar's school. This is so and so's school. That's how it evolved. But that was just not written as a text, there was no curriculum. It wasn't compiled. It was all in mind and in practice. And that's what was needed, because Sahaba and the Tabi'in, they were very fresh with their memories, very sharp with their memories. They just carried on like this. So there were more than 1,000 fuqaha who came from these Sahaba as students, here and there. But none of them actually wrote anything down as their text. So it got missed, obviously, with time. If you don't write things down, not that it lasts very long. When Imam Abu Hanifa came, he then started, was his idea to start writing it down formally. And I will come to that. Imam Malik in Medina 10 years, 15 years later, he did the same thing. Imam Shafi, the student of Imam Malik, and Imam Abu Hanifa, the student's student. Indirect, I'll show you how. He started doing the same. Imam Ahmad, the student of Imam Shafi, did the same. All the others, there was another Imam subsequently, Imam Dawood al-Wahid. He compiled as well. But there was no one to teach it after a few hundred years. And we've lost that school now. From 5 Sunni schools, one has gone missing. We're left with 4 now. Why 4? This is what these giants thought of, and they compiled it. They made it into written form, and they got students teaching it, subsequently carrying on. Other schools, other teachers, other fuqaha, it never occurred to them. They never did it. So their stuff is found here and there in this book, a little bit there, a little bit there, but not in a codified way. So no one would go for uncodified half stuff. A few points about prayer, nothing about zakat. What do I do? Am I going to go for that text? Obviously not. So no one did that. Slowly, their stuff got lost in the system. We have got certain ruling of all of those imams, and we know their life history and their teachings here and there, but not on every matter. So would you take that, which has got maybe 10%, 20%, 30, 40, 50%, 60% maximum of their teachings, or someone who has got from cover to cover, 100%, everything is written down. So these 4 imams happen to have their teachings codified within their lifetime, and they wrote it and passed it on to the next generation. So what are you going to accept or take as a text for you in future? The one which is codified, which is available here and there. Yes, that's just natural. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala willed. Okay, and these imams are, as I mentioned, the names with the time. So Imam Abu Hanifa, he saw a couple of Sahaba, so that is why he is considered Tabi'i, the follower. Born in 80 after Hijrah. So how many years after Rasulullah? Take 11 out. 71, 69. 69 years after Rasulullah, he was born. Many Sahaba were still there because the last Sahabi who passed away was about 110 about that time after Hijrah. So he had about good 30 years to be with 1 or 2, 4 or 5 different Sahaba. Obviously, he was young enough to not learn from them directly because they were very elderly, not all found in his area. In his area, he had 1 or 2. So he got to be with them, but not as a direct student. He had to have students after students and then through them. And he died in 150. Now, the year he died, Imam Shafi was born. Remember, that's easy way to remember. 150 is his. One Imam goes, another Imam comes, Imam Shafi. So obviously they never met. But Imam Malik, about 13 years later. So Imam Shafi studied with Imam Malik. And 2 students of Imam Abu Hanifa, I'll show you in a second. And Imam Ahmad is direct student of Imam Shafi. Okay. Now, so that's how Allah wanted it like this. So if you just get the relationship, Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik. Imam Abu Hanifa had 2 main students, Imam Abu Yusuf and Imam Muhammad ibn Hassan. Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. Imam Abu Yusuf is similar, more or less similar to Imam Malik in age. But there's just a difference of opinion, like the date is not clear. Was he born in the 93 years after Hijrah, or was it 107? Because the way it's written in book, people have taken differently. Because remember, written like that in numbers can be a little bit tricky. So that's not very clear. So whatever it was, still there in the early stages. And then Imam Muhammad, you could see Imam Muhammad, yeah, get the pointer. Imam Muhammad then was the student of Imam Malik as well. He studied with Imam Abu Hanifa, and he was quite young. You could see that he's about 50 years younger, 52 years younger than Imam Abu Hanifa. And he was a very intelligent young boy. He came in the majlis of Imam Abu Hanifa. Imam Abu Hanifa was teaching, and he came with his father. He was about 13 or 14. He came to the masjid, Imam is teaching in Kufa, A'zamiyya, in the main masjid in Kufa. He came, he did his prayer. No, sorry. He came with his father after the prayer to Imam Abu Hanifa, asking, Ya Imam, the father said, this is my son, and I want him to get enrolled in your class. Imam said, MashaAllah, young boy, are you Hafiz? He said, no. He said, to come and join my class, there's a minimum requirement, entry criteria. What is the requirement? To become Hafiz of Quran. So you become Hafiz, and inshallah, that come back. A week later, he came with the father again. Ya Imam, I want to enroll my son. I told you, has to be Hafiz. He has done his hifz. In 1 week, he memorized whole Quran. 1 week. On record. No disagreement on that. 1 week, whole Quran, 14-year-old boy. And he was so clever. You know, his first question to Imam Abu Hanifa was this. Ya Imam, what would you say about a young man who is not pubertal yet? He slept after praying Isha, but before he woke up in the morning, middle of the night, he became baligh. He became pubertal. He had his first wet dream, and it is when he woke up, it is yet Isha time. He has done his Isha already. Does he have to repeat his Isha? Means does he have to pray his Isha? And why he asked this question? And I can tell you that you can't even think of that. He asked because he knew as a non-pubertal or pre-pubertal boy or girl, it is not obligatory on you to pray. So I did it as a nafil. When you remember, the boys and the girls, when they pray before puberty, it's considered nafil prayer. But to bring them in the habit, don't tell them the by the way. Otherwise, they would just stop praying. So because Rasulullah's instruction is to make them pray at the age of 7 and let them carry on until 10. And if they don't do, even give them a little bit of nudge here and there so that they come in the habit by the time they are 14 or 13 or whatever age they become pubertal, and that becomes easy. He's scratching his eye. I wish I knew it a few years back. No, alhamdulillah, you're in the habit of praying now. It's always beneficial for you. So he asked that question because knowing that I wasn't baligh when I did my Isha, it was not obligatory, but I became baligh and it is now obligatory upon me. Do I have to repeat the same prayer? Imam said, listen to the question so much. Yes, you have to. But he didn't say you have to. He said that the person, he asked as someone. He said, yeah, that person needs to repeat the prayer because it's now wajib on him, like fard on him. He put his shoes to the side and prayed his Isha there in the masjid as a qada. But he didn't know, obviously. This is the first time he's doing it. He offered it. They said, you're so intelligent. And obviously, Hafiz within a week. Now he's in. So he then went, after Imam Abu Hanifa passed away, he studied with Imam Abu Yusuf for many years, senior teacher. And then he went to Medina, where Imam Malik was, and studied with him. Then he became the teacher of Imam Ash-Shafi, and Abu Yusuf, both were teachers of Imam Ash-Shafi. Then Imam Ash-Shafi moved to Medina and studied with Imam Malik as well. So see how he has got both sides knowledge from this and this. Kufan school and Medina school. And then from him learned our great Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So he has gathered all of that with his one teacher. These are the giants, Imam Shafi'i, rahmatullah, for example, he walked to gain knowledge for 9,000 miles on foot, on camel, and that's separate. The stuff that he learned on walking is 9,000 miles on foot, different times. Imam Ahmad, he he was flogged for months after months because he would not give up the rule of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. This Quran is the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and Qadim, not a creative thing. Mamun would flog him for that. He had a tough time with that, but he carried on, alhamdulillah. We leave that for the time being. But anyway, so that is why they're all sincere Imams, but Allah chose them. Why, how, or whatever, we know the technical reason, which is that they got their books written up. So we have Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then we have Khulafa, then we have Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, the companion in Kufa. So when Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala in his time, he created this new city. When Muslims moved here and there wasn't a city in that area. So many Muslims are now coming to Islam, non-Muslim coming to Islam. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu ta'ala in his Khilafah, during his Khilafah, established this city. This is his designed city. Literally, step-by-step design. He established that city. It's a beautiful city. And he sent Abdullah ibn Mas'ud there initially. And he said to people of Kufa, "O people of Kufa, I am preferring you lot over me. And I'm sending someone who I love the most with regards to his knowledge." And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was very short and very slim and thin. People used to laugh at us when they look at their feet, the leg. So it's like calf muscles like bone. So once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him to climb the tree to get some dates. He did that. The Sahaba, when they saw his feet showing up a little bit, they started laughing. Someone could have those slim legs as well, like literally rods. They laughed. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "You're laughing at these feet, at these legs and calves. They are wallahi heavier than Uhud mountain in the scales of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of his knowledge, because of his depth of his taqwa and his piety." This is Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So Sayyidina Umar said, when he would see him, he would just feel like, I want to speak to you all the time. When he was going, he said, "This is a man short in size, filled with knowledge." It's like you've got koot ke bhara hua hai ilm se. Muli'a min al-ilm. Anyway, Unayya, he said, is a small container filled with knowledge. This is the title of his numbers. And then he sent him there. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, then he established his school there, taught people would come from here. 4,000 students, top level scholars he left behind. Alqama being his main student, many, but Alqama is the ultimate student, complete replica of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud with knowledge. And he then was the teacher of Ibrahim al-Nakha'i. He had the student of Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman and Abu Hanifa. Obviously, he learned with these, but mainly his direct teacher was Hammad ibn Abi Sulaiman. And he learned from him and mastered every science that was required till he became a mujtahid imam on his own accord. This is Imam. So Umar, as I mentioned, I mentioned all of that. Then Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala in his time became the Khalifa, and he moved his caliphate, the capital city, to Kufa. So Kufa now became the central capital of Islamic State. And the reason Sayyidina Ali did, we discussed that in our history lesson. Anyone could remember why he did that? Because Sayyidina Uthman radiallahu ta'ala got martyred in Medina, and he wanted to keep Medina, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's blessed city, away from all the commotion, so it doesn't carry on any more spillage of blood. That was one reason. Second, Islam is spread further down that way. So if I stay here, it will be difficult to manage. It has to be somewhere in the center, capital city. So that was another reason. But anyway, and there were a few other reasons, but inshallah ta'ala, leave that. So then Sayyidina Ali is there. And Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, he was there as well. So these are the main three Sahaba who established the Kufan school, which was then led by Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayh, because it was codified in his time. What Imam Abu Hanifa did, he gathered 36 of his best students, top level, 36. And some of them were muhaddis of the top level, faqih. Some of them were mufassir of Quran. Some of the linguist master. Imam Muhammad was specialist in language as well. When you want to clarify the meaning of certain words in Arabic from literally looking deep inside, if you say Imam Muhammad said so, that becomes the binding. It's authority. It's like in English, Shakespeare's used it like this, and Chaucer used it like that, becomes the binding. In Urdu, Ghalib and Iqbal use it like that, becomes the binding. Because they are the master of the language. Imam Muhammad is like that. Anyway, so they would sit for the next 30 years, almost every day, unless there's a specific reason, to mull over all the issues. This is what we call MDT. Imam Abu Hanifa created the first ever multidisciplinary team meetings for the next 30 years, every day, almost every day. And they compiled more than thousands and thousands of, according to some narration, more than million, about million, close to million different issues. Some very clear, easy, but some very detailed. But definitely the compiled one that we have got today, more than 100,000 are already written down, text by text, point by point. So what he would do, they would discuss the issue, and then Imam would summarize it, and they would jot it down. So Imam Muhammad's job was to write it down. He would write it down. If there was disagreement, they would say, Imam Abu Hanifa said this, Imam Abu Yusuf said this, Imam Zufar said this, Imam Hassan ibn Ziyad said this, Sari al-Kaysan, so and so and so and so. They said this, and there was no agreement on that. Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, like himself, I said this. So it means there are 4 or 5 opinions. What is the predominant view? Don't know. But methodology is this. So subsequently, people would come and they would look at those methodology and apply, that is the strongest out of the 3. So in Hanafi school, more than a third of Imam Abu Hanifa's opinions are not taken in Hanafi school. So when people say, oh, you are doing taqleed of one Imam, we don't understand. We only take Imam Abu Hanifa's method and apply the same method to any of the ruling that he come up with. Or we leave some of the opinions of Imam Abu Hanifa in the favor of Imam Muhammad, sometimes in the favor of Imam Abu Yusuf. Sometimes they both agree on this, all 3 agree on that, on majority. So when they use the term sahibain, 2 companions of Imam Abu Hanifa, it means Abu Yusuf and Muhammad. When they say shaykhain, it means Abu Hanifa and Abu Yusuf agree on that. They're together. When they say tarafain, 2 sides, Abu Hanifa and Muhammad. So these are the terms they would use in the text. Anyway, over the years, Imams after Imams come and they would just follow. They would put that to test. This is what Imam is saying. This is what the methodology is. How come Imam said this? Perhaps he didn't have that hadith. Perhaps he forgot about this. Perhaps this Quranic ayah wasn't clear to him. Let's use the same tool and apply to all the ruling. People came after so many years up till now, and they would just clarify. So Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, he became the ultimate, compiler of the school. He's the one who was writing throughout, and he was the youngest and one of the intelligent ones. So he wrote quite a lot of books. But then his books are divided into 2. The Zahirul Riwayah, the books, the 6 canonical texts, which has every ruling written down there, and there's some extra. So these 6 are considered the main text, and these 6 texts are considered the foundation of Hanafi school. You can't go away from that unless there's something against it from some other Imams. So these are master transmitted, and these are al-mabsut, al-ziyadat, al-jami' al-saghir, al-jami' al-kabir, al-siyar al-saghir, al-siyar al-kabir. Okay. For Hafiz and Farooq, you should know it and memorize it. Those who are, and Sami as well. Those who are doing formal, or aspire to do so in future, they should know this much. At least know that there's 6 books of Imam Muhammad, which are the foundation of Hanafi school. And there's some others which are not the main. If you don't find anything there, for example, then you would go for these texts. There are many, but these 4 or 5 are much more. So Kaysaniyat. And these are all because if Salih al-Kaysan asked something and he responded to the question there. Haruniyat, in that individual after his Jurjaniyat, Jurjan's the place. And then it's likewise there. Many texts. Anyway, so what happens subsequently? The level of mujtahid. There are certain imams that will come and clarify situations. So what is the status of a mujtahid? A faqih. Who is faqih? Faqih is someone who understands the text and intent. So the top level one is called mujtahid mutlaq. Mujtahid is a person who strives to come up with the ruling, looking at Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, applying all those tools on his own and come up with the ruling, just looking at the text by himself, without any other external aid. Direct Quran, direct sunnah. Without any tools, no one else's tools. My own tools. I create my own tools. If I needed a chisel, that's my chisel. I'm going to make and then use it. So that is what a mujtahid would do. This is my own hammer. I would create something of that sort. Not like I'm copying someone else's hammer. No, no. I would try and find out what are the ways of looking at that text and come up with the ruling. A mujtahid would not be dependent on anyone. You just go straight to the text, and there are only these four are considered to be mujtahid mutlaq. There are a few others, but they've not given the widespread approval of the ummah. But these four did. There are many before that, but their stuff is not with us, so we can't call them mujtahid mutlaq anyway because their work is not with us. So all four imams are considered to be the mujtahid mutlaq, absolute mujtahid, without depending on anyone else. The second level is mujtahid fil madhab. Now you would have imam within the school who mastered everything according to the standard of the imam and applying it. So Imam Muhammad and Imam Abu Yusuf, they're both mujtahid fil madhab. Although by the consensus of ummah, including Imam Ahmad and Imam Shafi'i, Imam Muhammad, Imam Malik, they would say about Imam Abu Yusuf and about Imam Muhammad that they are mujtahid in mutlaq, except that they did not invent their own tool. They said, we're not interested. We're happy with our teachers' tools. We just use the same one. We do not want our own machinery. We just use the same. Since they did not go out from being mujtahid mutlaq, they carried on with that. They become the mujtahid of the school. So although they, according to their level, I mean, you can imagine they are creator. They're the teacher. They're the one who made those two, Imam Muhammad and Imam Ahmad, as the subsequent mujtahid mutlaq. So you can't be lower than that in that regard. But they opted to stay within the school. So that's fine. That's their choice. Many people do that. So mujtahid fil madhab, someone who is the top level imam, but within the school. He would not go outside of the tools of Imam Abu Hanifa. Yet he would differ in many things. He would come up with many, many rulings. Imam Abu Hanifa. That's why they would differ in their meetings, in their situations. You understand that? Third one is mujtahid fil masail. Now these are the imams. They are mujtahid within the school, but there are no rulings from any of these three imams. Muhammad, Abu Hanifa, Abu Yusuf. We haven't got some ruling on the new situation. They will apply the same rule of Imam Abu Hanifa and come up with a ruling. So they've done something new within the masail. Current situation, COVID, vaccine, halal or haram. So Mufti Taqi Usmani Sahib come up with the ruling that this is what he's doing. Using the same tools as Imam. He would never go there and he would never go there. It's highly unlikely that anyone other than Imam Mahdi, when he will come, would be able to achieve any of those. The door is open, but it's impossible. I mean, virtually, there's no need for that. Why do you have to reinvent the wheel? If everything is done for you, why do you want to come up with some new tools? Okay. And then you've got three more before it comes to our level, which is us common people. Ashab al-Takhrij. So what they do, they don't do any ijtihad. They don't come up with new ruling. They just clarify what was not clear in the text. Looks like, the hadith saying this and that. Is it? They come up with the explanation why this is the ruling, why that isn't the ruling, what Imam meant by that, what Imam Abu Yusuf meant by that. So their job is to make it a takhrij, the explanation, bring the rule out, something which was covered, a little bit, dubious, they clarify that. And then, so the likes of Imam Bazzaz, Imam Abu Bakr al-Jassas, Imam Jurjani, these are the imams for that. And many others. Ashab al-Tarjih, their job is, you found more than one narration. That was unclear. This was clear, but three rulings of Imam Abu Hanifa. What do we do? Which one to take? It's called Tarjih, preferring one opinion over the other. Of Imam Abu Yusuf's two opinions, Imam Muhammad's two opinions. So which one? Their job is to do that. This is Imam Marghinani, the author of the text Hidayah. You heard about that. Imam Quduri, which you guys are studying. His job is to do that, the ruling he would take. And Imam Ibn Humam, Al-Ashba al-Nabair, and there's got many books. Not Imam Humam with M, okay? Not Ibn Nujaym of Al-Ashba, Imam Ibn Humam. And then the next level, which is the level that we are at, with regards to our studies, ashab al-tamyiz. Then they would try to distinguish, compare these, working on this one above that, and applying. Yes, Imam, you took the opinion, but which of those opinions that you took, you have taken the tools and applied it? Well, we need to go by the text, because you're claiming that there is no ruling, or there's disagreement, or there is something not very clear, or two opinions, and there's no strength given or priority given to one or the other. These Imams, they would look at that and compare this ruling of, say, Imam Marghinani's text, and check on the text, original text of Imam Muhammad, 6 books that I mentioned. They would say, no, because remember, not everyone can memorize everything. It's not easy. They've gone through the text, but they might have missed. You're saying that there is disagreement or more than one opinion, but when I compared this, actually Imam Muhammad made it very clear. This is the opinion. That is what should be followed. You said you can take this, not that one. That's not right. So they were, remember, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of opinions, or the rulings. They apply that on this case. So they just would check it against that. And then they would come up with the text that we are reading, for example, the books, I will give you those names in a minute. So these are the books. Okay. The Kanz al-Daqaiq, Shara Wiqaya, those are the texts. And Nur Ul Idaah would come there as well. Okay? Yes.
It's something that a lot of people in the masjid say to me, in the masjid I attend. They say, we follow Imam Abu Hanifa, but even Imam Abu Hanifa said, if you find something more stronger, don't follow me.
Follow the hadith. All the Imam said so. Obviously, that's the whole idea. Every Imam said it. إذا صح الحديث فهو مذهبي. If you find a sahih hadith, that is my madhab. So this is what they have done. This is all the ashab al-tarjih, ashab al-takhrij, mujtahid fil madhab. This is the job. That's why I mentioned all of that. Just by looking at that, you would know automatically what those Imam were doing. They're applying the rule, methodology of Imam Abu Hanifa, looking at the hadith and saying that, you know what, I differ with you, Imam Sahib. And this is why those 36 people sitting together in the majlis, and hadith master, Imam Abu Hanifa's opinion, as I said, up to 2/3 of the opinion, definitely 1/3, and there's between 2/3, 1/3 and 2/3. That's the distinction of Imam Abu Hanifa's opinions are not taken in Hanafi school. So when you say that we don't follow hadith and we follow Imam Abu Hanifa, you're wrong. We follow Imam Abu Hanifa's methodology, and that is why we are taking, up to 1/3 to half of his opinion. The rest of the opinion, we don't even take his opinion based on hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is this Habut Takhrij and Tarjih and Mujtahid fil Madhab has already clarified for us. Why do you think they would define? Oh, I don't feel like following Imam Abu Hanifa. This matter, not at all. They got the hadith. They got the linguistic explanation of that word better than Imam Abu Hanifa according to their level of understanding. That's what they've already done. That is why it's like me attending a conference of all the lung specialists, including myself. And the top level professor sits there and he said, by the way, this is my presentation. And based on that, what I felt, based on my research, this is what I think is the right treatment for COVID. These 3 medications. And if you find some better evidence based on your research subsequently, or some research already been done, which I don't know of, just take that, throw this away. So you as a patient attended, because you drove me to this conference, I attended it, you were there with me, gave me a ride. So Ismail Multani Sahab came from Multan, took me from here to that conference in America in his bike. And we attended that. So I came home and I'm doing whatever I'm doing. He said, I found an article where there's more evidence of some other medication. I'm going to throw that professor's stuff away. Because he said, follow that evidence rather than my opinion. I'm going to follow this. Is he right in doing that? Is he right in doing that? Is the professor saying to him, do this? The person who doesn't even know what medicine is, he has never opened a textbook of medicine. He has never studied medicine. Can he do that? Would you allow him to do that? So is Imam Abu Hanifa asking you, or the person who doesn't even know how to read Arabic text, even Quran, if I say that you can't read Quran, all of you, if I take the i'rab away, zabar, zid, and fish, and I challenge that you, none of you could read Quran properly. Forget about properly, even improperly. Can you? If you're not Hafiz, you can't. And some of you half-baked Hafiz, like myself. If you don't know Arabic, anyone who claimed that, take the challenge, prove it now. Quranic ayat without i'rab, without fatha dhamma kasra written on that. Can you read that? No. And now you think that you can find out what the hadith is and what the meaning of the hadith is. And Imam Hanifa, you didn't know hadith. I've got the hadith, I'm going to follow it. You are much dumber than Ismail taking this article and applying and throwing the professor's advice. Do you understand that? So Imam Sahib, when he said, or Imam Malik, when he said, when Imam Shafi, when he said, he was talking to his students, written in the book. When did he say to you to do it? Did he say it to you? He's talking to his students in the majlis, and you got the recording of that, fine. He's not talking to you. Obviously, he would never ever ask you to do it because he knows, how would you know this is Sahih Hadith? You can't even tell me the definition of a Sahih Hadith. Tell me the definition of a Sahih Hadith. And tell me, where did you get it from? None of you can do that. Together, you can't do it. You know, oh, I will Google it. Yes, you can Google it. The Google will say in Arabic, if it's in Arabic or in English, and then it will say, there has to be no hidden defect. Then I would say, what is hidden defect? I will Google that as well. Hidden defect is your language. Hidden defect in a hadith. How would you know hidden defect? Give me an example of hidden defect. Google would give you some example of that, and go and work it out and come back to me next week. And I would ask, what did it say? You can't even then explain to me. Go and do the homework and come back. Challenge open to you. And come back. Read that example and come back. And I would ask you, what is hidden defect? In Arabic, it's called ilal. Illah in a hadith. Plural ilal. Find out the ilal in a hadith and come and explain. You can take good lifetime, inshallah ta'ala, and never. Not that you are sick that you wouldn't. It's the terminology you haven't gone through. It's like if I ask you to go and Google Madsila Sughra and you've never studied with a teacher, you can't tell me what it means. You have to have someone telling you what it means to understand it. Text is text. You can't clarify things for you. There has to be a bit more background knowledge. Intelligence on its own is not enough. You guys are way intelligent than we can even think of being intelligent. Your 5-year-old perhaps is more intelligent these days. So what? Does it make them a better qualified doctor, even if you could Google everything for you? No. Understand that? Anyway, so what is essential that we need to learn from fiqh? Now we know the fiqh is important to learn, and this is part of our deen. There's certain essential knowledge. One of that is basic creed of aqidah, which is ahkam, fiqh of ahkam, knowing what constitutes prayer, knowing what is obligatory on you about prayers, fasting, hajj, zakah, whatever. Any fiqh ruling related to these ibadat, related to mu'amalat, if you are a businessman, mu'ashara, if you are husband and wife, a mature person dealing with mom and dad, next door neighbor, how to deal with all of those. And likewise, if you are in politics, what are the rulings to apply there? You have to know all of that as a must. And finally, Quranic recitation with tajweed. That's the essential and fard knowledge, okay, of deen. And optional, anything above that. So what we are learning now, and these are the Hanafi texts, Nur Ul Idaah, normally taught at the first level in madrasa, and the next one is Mukhtasar al-Quduri, then Shara Wiqaya, Kanz al-Daqaiq, and Hidayah. You don't have to go through all of them. The first text only covers the 5 fiqh ruling or issues related to ibadat, which is tahara, salah, zakah, hajj, and sawm. Okay, only those 5 aspects. Tahara is needed for your prayer. That's why tahara is first. And then that's the book we inshallah are going to go through. It's called Nur Ul Idaah. That's why opted for this first text to make it clear. Knowing it is essential. Or anything about that. Doesn't have to be this text. Anything you have to have knowledge of: your prayer, your fasting, your tahara, your hajj. If you're wealthy, then zakat and hajj as well. Understand that? So that's where we're starting, inshallah ta'ala. And we go through that. Imam Shurumdulali, just one last point on that. One of the greatest of the imams. He was in the this is 10 about how many 400 years ago, roughly, about that. So after Hijrah, 1,000 years after Hijrah, that he passed away in the 11th century after Hijrah. Egyptian professor was he was a professor at Azhar. These are the texts he has written. And Nur Ul Idaah, Maraqi al-Fala is Maraqi al-Fala, the fourth one. That is the commentary on Nur Ul Idaah. He himself wrote. This is what we base our stuff on, because Nur Ul Idaah is a little bit succinct. We just add a few points from Maraqi. Maraqi is amazing. Maraqi is the ladder. Ladder to Nur Ul Idaah. Light of clarification. You want to take the escalators to go up, the lift to Maraqi al-Fala. So that lift is very, very useful for students and for teachers. And this is the main text. Only this text with some commentaries from another imam. And this is Nur Ul Idaah, translated in English. You don't have to have that, because I would go through all of that in writing this as a summary form, however long it takes. It depends on your appetite. It depends on our availability, inshallah ta'ala. We're trying to do 2 sessions a week, 2 hours, one before Maghrib and one after Maghrib, inshallah ta'ala. So Maghrib time, we break it off now. And after Maghrib, we will just start the introductory bit and a few points about the book, inshallah, with some terminology, and we'll be done. May Allah give us tawfiq. If you have any question, you can ask that after prayer. We have to break it out. Jazakallahu khairan.